freaking first cut. Golly.
What's going on, YouTube? Rick here, and we are about to deep dive round one of the Valero Texas Open. Look at the live odds implications and the notables in the field. Hit the like and subscribe button for me, and we'll jump into it right now. Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman. That right there, Kyle Porter, KP, Valero, baby. Let's go.
I thought I was on to talk about Tigers playing again. I thought that's what we were doing.
Oh man, I mean, we could go off the rails if you want. I'm okay with it.
No, we've done enough of that. Let's talk Texas Open. It's kind of a weird first round. You know, I was immersed. We were just talking about this. I was immersed in Masters content all day, which is pretty standard at this time of year. But I caught some of this, and my guy Russell Knox, top of the board. I was 2 weeks early.
I was okay. Was it? I couldn't remember if it was 1 week too early or 2 weeks too early. So you had Russell Knox in our one and done 2 weeks ago. Is that right?
Yeah, I had him for Valspar. So I was one tournament early because I don't think he qualified for match play.
Okay.
He was coming into Valspar with that T6 at the Players, and you know, I'll just jump into it with him at Texas Open. He didn't. I mean, he was a neutral putter, and I think and I was reading his quotes afterwards. I think what we saw on Thursday from him is what actually he's kind of been doing for a few months now. He's made 6 straight cuts, and he's been doing it with really good ball striking. I mean, he hit the ball great on Thursday. That's what he did at the Players when he finished T6. He's got some like T33s in there that are, you know, for him pretty decent at some good events. So he's playing really quality golf. I don't know if that means he's going to win this week, but he's been playing really, really well over the last couple of months.
Yeah, he gained a bunch around the green, but he was also, as you mentioned, awesome in the ball striking category. So that's good to see. It was bogey free. It was a bogey free 65, highlighted by 4 consecutive birdies at 12, 13, 14, and 15. For guys like Knox, you know, we've kind of alluded to it. A lot of even our attention starting to drift to next week. There is massive implications for him here in this moment, this week, without looking ahead.
Yeah, I mean, he had a funny quote afterwards because he's not in yet, I don't believe. I just went through the whole field today, and I ranked the field, which is just a disaster.
Where'd you put Tiger, though?
Well, I actually haven't. So I've got like 10. I've got 10 guys left. I went through alphabetically, so I'm at the bottom of the list. So I haven't got to him.
Nice. That's very convenient that you haven't gone on the record.
I mean, I'll just do it right here. I'll put him probably like 35th.
Ooh, my juices are flowing. I'll take it. I accept.
I mean, it's weird because the Masters rankings, and I tweeted this out. You get to like nobody should be number one. I'm lost as it relates to 1 through 3. You get to 4 or 5, and you're like, well, there's like 17 guys. There should be 5. Then nobody again until like 38, and then it's like the Ryan Palmer, Eric Van Rooyen, like that whole group. And then you skip a bunch, and it's like all the amateur. It's a weird exercise to do. Anyway, Russell Knox not in the field. He said afterwards, he was like, "Listen," he was like, "I'm not putting extra pressure on myself. I'm gonna be just as happy sitting on my couch with my dog next week watching the Masters as I would be playing in it." And I was like, well, "Wait a second, what?" And then he clarified like 1 sentence later, and he was like, "Actually, I'm going to be trying really hard to get into the Masters." And you're like, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. But he was kind of like not trying not to put the extra pressure on himself, because I mean, look at all these guys at the top of the board. I don't think Kuchar's not in. None of these guys are in, right? No, I don't know that any of the guys I'm looking at right now
like
are.
Luke List would be like the first one in, right?
Yeah, are currently in the Masters. So. There's a ton, like, we're going to focus probably on the Rory, Spieth, Hideki. What does this mean for Augusta? But there's a ton of, like, hey, this guy could just play himself into Augusta with a good rest of the week.
Yes, and we are certainly going to get to those guys. But before we do, Rasmus Hojgaard had himself a masterpiece going on Thursday. Goes out in 30.
Yeah.
Gets to his final hole today, which was the 9th hole at 8 under, makes double there, KP. So it's still a 6 under 66, one shot back of Russell Knox. Hojgaard, just so that people are aware, he just turned 21 like 2 weeks ago. There's a lot of raw talent in this young guy.
Just turned 21. And he's got 3 European Tour wins, right?
That's right.
He won December 2019. He won in 2020, I think. I know he won last year, August of 21. And he finished 6th last week at Punta Cana. So, I think he's super interesting. I'm not totally sure what to make of him yet. He's won a lot on the European Tour. Obviously, you win 3 times by the age of 20. That's a ton. But does it translate? I don't know that we learned a ton from this round because he basically just made a ton of putts, But he's also, I think he's like really good from tee to green. So I'm fascinated. He to me is the most interesting name, I think, at the top of this board in terms of like, and that's probably always true when you have a 21-year-old who's won a bunch. Just in terms of like, what is he going to be? Is he going to be like a Thomas Peters? Is he going to be like I don't think he's a Rory, but there's a lot in play for somebody who's 21 that is, has won that much on the Euro Tour and could get his first one on the PGA Tour this weekend.
Speaking of Rory McIlroy, it was an opening round 72. That's even par around TPC San Antonio. KP, I count 6 birdies. I count 6 pars. I count 6 bogeys. Is that encouraging or discouraging? Because I think it's nice you can make a lot of birdies, right? But like giving 6 back is not great.
No, it's discouraging. And the reason why, so he started on 10. He was talking earlier this week about the importance of distance control for Augusta National, right? Distance control. I was texting with Justin Ray. And if you look at the guys that have played at the Masters, that have like 10 rounds since 2015 at the Masters, it's like 75 guys or something like that. Rory's near the bottom of that list in terms of approach play. Like that's been his Achilles heel at Augusta. It's not driver. He's been good putting there. He's like 16th on that list in putting, but it's approach play. And I think a lot of that for him is often distance control. And what do you see in 2 of the first 4 holes? He goes 50 feet past the first hole and then past the second hole, and then like 75 feet from the pin or from the hole on his 4th hole, and he makes bogey at both of them. And it's got to be tough for him because it's tough to watch because he's in the middle of the fairway in both those shots. It's not like he's kind of all over the place. He's hitting his driver fairly well. It wasn't his best driving round ever, but he seems to have a lot of control off the tee. And then it's just like, what are we doing from 160, 170, 180? I mean, you probably saw some of it. Is that the takeaway that you had also?
Yeah, that was both the eye test and the way the numbers laid out too, right? He almost lost a stroke on approach. And you're right. It's like, okay, he's not driving it great, but he's driving it good enough. He's giving himself some decent looks and he's not taking advantage of any of them. And this is kind of, a weird, I don't want to call it weird, but like he usually doesn't play this week. You wonder how much he is able to focus now before next week. I know that's kind of the exercise that he's in. So it's just kind of a strange situation. I think he's a fascinating case study for, I was going to say the final 3 days this week, maybe the final 1 day this week, and then heading into the Masters.
Well, it just doesn't make any sense because it's not. I think what you're saying would be valid if it was like decision making, right? You're like kind of in and out of it, but it's just that's like true. These do what?
I said that's true. It's like he's sitting in the middle of the fairway with short iron in hand and he's just not executing it.
Yeah. And so I think that's the part that it's a little disconcerting that you're like, well, it's not as if you're just hitting like bad shots. And like not like difficult bad shots, like fairly straightforward bad shots. And that's I tweeted this stat out on Wednesday, I think. Going into the 2019 Masters from the start of the year, Tiger had gained 1.83 strokes from tee to green, which is exactly Rory's at 1.83 strokes gained from tee to green going into this year, into April. Now that'll change based on this week's Texas, based on this tournament. But I thought that was fascinating because he's kind of low key been playing pretty well without results, which is what Tiger was doing in 2019. But then you watch it and you're like, I don't know, man. Like I can't, I don't know if I can get on board with that because your bogeys at a TPC San Antonio where you're 50 yards long. You're 50 yards long on number 9 at Augusta. That ain't a bogey. That's a double or a triple, depending on where the pin is, So, or not 50 yards, 50 feet long. So yeah, I don't feel that great about if we're talking specifically about Thursday's round. Now he might be lights out the rest of the week and all of a sudden you've got some momentum, but I was not encouraged by Thursday.
Our reigning Masters champion, Hideki Matsuyama, had a full day as well. And I believe he actually pulled out of the Pro-Am on Wednesday. KP kind of re-aggravated that back injury, which is a little bit concerning, and then shot a 2 over 74. Had a couple of highlights, made birdies on 12, 14, 15 before giving 2 of them back at 16 and 17. It was just kind of a sloppy day for Hideki, who, I don't know, man. I worry about kind of the back going into Masters week.
Yeah, I do too. And I mean, the 40 on the front 9 was not good. So he kind of reined it in a little bit on the back, on the second 9. We were talking about this beforehand. I wouldn't be shocked by a WD from him.
I generally do not like when guys do that. Obviously, but like the get out of there is no situation I would be more understanding than if Hideki, who is already dealing with this back injury the week before going to defend his Masters title, if he just got out of town right now, I'd be like, yeah, no, I completely get it.
Well, it's a bummer for him too, right? I was thinking about this afterward. Like he's got the Champions Dinner and he's got all this like really fun, rewarding stuff next week. And if you don't feel well, like that sucks. Like you don't want to be doing all that when you're not feeling well. So it's kind of a bummer for him. And I think that we can probably, who knows, but I think we can probably chalk up this 74 to just either the rustiness that comes from not having played or the injury itself still bothering him.
Jordan Spieth, our final notable here on this side, is currently playing his final hole of the day, number 18. He's got a couple feet left for par. If he makes that, it will be an even par. He did make it. Okay. So an even par round of 72 for Jordan Spieth. I don't have his updated numbers yet, KP, but through 17 holes, he was losing 2 strokes with the putter. This is now becoming a bit of a trend for Jordan Spieth. We've been kind of poking fun at the swing mechanics and the pre-shot routine and all that stuff, but the putter's kind of a problem right now.
The putter, and it's interesting. I was actually looking at his numbers for the year today because I was trying to figure him out for Augusta, and it's hard, right? Because he's just so lights out at Augusta that you kind of lean toward, he'll figure it out, whatever. But like his numbers are not good going into the Masters next week. And you look, forget him winning last year at this event. His numbers going into this event and into the Masters and for the first 5 months of last year were awesome, like really good. The putter, sure. But also his iron play was excellent last year, like almost 2017 Spiethian. And it's not this year. It's not it's so weird to watch because you watch him and you're like, I was just watching him play 17, 18, and he looks almost like if you could somehow erase the body and just show the swing, you wouldn't really think that that's Spieth, right?
I agree, which is, it's always a little weird when I always say like guys lose their DNA, right? Like you're right. If you just blocked out his face and removed the Under Armour stuff, you'd be like, I have no idea who this guy is.
And so you would think, if you take a big picture view of it, you would think that change or whatever's going on would have happened last year when he had been struggling for 3 or 4 years or 2 or 3 years, not in 2022 after he had a really good year last year. And so I'm kind of confused by the whole thing. And I'm not excited about him next week. And maybe that'll change, but he just seems a little, he's almost just in neutral. He's only really got one good finish this year at Pebble. in a bad field.
In a bad field at a place that he's been
Thrived.
historically awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, KP, we're going to look at the odds board. But first, we are going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
Paramount Mountain. The place where entertainment lives. Home to bumblebees, owls, and birdies. Giant hippos and flying jackasses.
Let her rip, Tater Chip!
Yep, this mountain's full of surprises. In fact, I'm not even Tim McGraw.
Soy Dora! Later, muchachos!
And we are back. Our
It
friends
was a roller coaster.
we're not supposed to acknowledge it, but if you're watching,
I always do.
Yeah, that was interesting. Okay, so our friends over at Caesars Sportsbook have been doing the live math. They've got the calculators out. The abaci or abacuses. What's the plural of abacus?
I think abaci is what we should go with.
I think we should definitely go with it. They've got the abaci out, and it is Russell Knox, one shot clear of the rest of the field, who is the favorite. But KP, it's not single digits. 10-1 for Russell Knox. Rasmus Hojgaard 14-1. The pair of Matt Kuchar and Denny McCarthy at 18. And even with that double on his final hole of the day, Corey Connors is in the mix as well. 22-1 with Luke List and Tony Finau. That's how the top of the odds board is shaping up.
Yeah, I don't love the top here. Maybe I love the very top. Maybe Knox at 10, but then I kind of like Connors at 22 and Siwoo at 25. Maybe even Luke List at 22. He's been playing so well. Yeah, that's kind of those are the names that I like on there.
I have a pre-tournament ticket on Brendan Steele, so I'm still quite optimistic about that. He's at 4 under, but I wouldn't bet it now.
What was he at, like 66 or 50 or something?
Like 70, or I think is where I got it at. But he's
okay.
Yeah, he had like missed 5 cuts in a row, but was starting to figure it out. The Siwoo one had my attention as well because, okay, we talk about this a lot. You have to find a ceiling to win. And Siwoo is crash and burn or super high ceiling. Like, he is capable of coming from 4 back at the moment, passing all of these guys and winning it. Like, I mean, there's what, a dozen guys at 4 under alone? I mean, this thing is just a log jam at the top.
Yeah, it is wide open. Siwoo, by the way, has been, not to make this all about the Masters, but he has been awesome. I'm going to pull it up. He's been awesome at so his last 4 starts at Augusta, T12, T34, T21, T24. I think he's somebody that, depending on how it goes this weekend, he's not going to win the Masters, I don't think, but he's somebody that if you're playing like the pool where you've got 6 guys or 4, whatever you play, like he's somebody that I would want to keep an eye on this weekend going into next week.
You should see the emails that I get on Masters Week where it's like, Rick, I'm in a pool. You have to select 12 guys. 4 of them have to be born between January 5th and 8th. I'm like, oh, what?
It's like,
what with these rules?
It's like you need to email John Nash and not Rick Gehman to figure this out. I've already gotten DMs of like, what do you think about the, it's like color coordinated. I'm like, yeah. I'm just trying to like rank the field. Like, that's all I'm needing to do right now.
Real quick, producer Jacob, I selected Maverick McNeely in the 1 and done, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's correct. So Mav McNeely's leading the field in strokes gained approach, lost 2.5 strokes putting. He's 40-1. That would be like the model play, like the guy that's like, there is putting correction coming for Mav McNeely.
Yeah, I like that. 40 is great.
Yeah, it's longer than his pre-tournament number. He's 5 off the lead.
What was his pre-tournament?
28, I want to say.
God, this field's not that good. Especially if Spieth and Rory and Hideki are going to play poorly.
Yeah, it didn't help that Answer withdrew as well, which kind of
yeah. What is that? What's up with that?
Did you hear anything, or we just like his Instagram post said he was forced to withdraw, which
it was very cryptic.
Yes, well, specifically worded.
Yeah, and it doesn't pretend well for next week, where I think he actually could be. I mean, he's been competitive there before. JetBlue in the chat wants to know who's going to win the Masters.
Brooks Koepka.
I think I'm going to take JT.
Okay, I love the JT thing too, but Brooks is like healthy.
But yeah, Brooks is. I have Brooks ranked. Usually, I have Brooks ranked like I don't even know where to put him, but I have him ranked in the top 4. I think he's going to have a great week.
Yeah, healthy. Metrics are there. It's a major championship. Yeah, I think it's going to be awesome.
I think the we're already talking about the Masters. I think the JT thing, I'm glad he hasn't won yet. It's one of those things where, like, if he had won Valspar, I'd be like, I don't know, because it feels like he's still like making that climb toward the top of the mountain, that we see so often. Am I excited about watching him putt all week? I am not, but I am thrilled about he's freaking hitting the ball better than anybody in the world. I know what the stats say. I don't care. Like, I've watched him play, and yeah, I'm so excited about it. I can't wait.
We're going to be back after round 2 to break down all that's happening. Will we know, Kyle? Will there be an official word from T-Dubs, Tiger Woods, on the Friday before a tournament that he's in? Will there be an official communication?
Yeah, I think tomorrow's our day. I've already pre-written like 1,000 words.
The networks are preparing like it is, because everyone is on standby everywhere for something to happen tomorrow.
I've got I'm off tomorrow, but I already told HQ I was like, whatever you need, I'm there. So yeah, I think he's going to announce that he's playing the 2022 Masters tomorrow. But don't put on Twitter that he's maybe not going to win, because you will get eviscerated for that.
And yes, you know better than most how to get eviscerated on Twitter. So I will take your word for it. Big thanks goes out to producer Jacob, does all the hard work behind the scenes. Kyle Porter can be found on Twitter at Kyle Porter CBS, and you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.